What if we planted a trillion trees? Imagine waking up in the freezing cold, zipping open your tent, and stepping into a world where your first mission of the day isn't checking your phone, but grabbing a shovel and saving the planet. Rain or shine, snow or blistering heat, you're on the front lines planting trees, thousands of them. Sounds heroic? It is. But here's the kicker. To truly make a dent in climate change, we'd need to plant not thousands, not millions, but 1 trillion trees. That's right, a trillion. What would that look like? How long would it take? And could it actually save the Earth? This is what if, and here's what would happen if we planted a trillion trees. Imagine standing in a dense forest at dawn. The air is cool, damp, and still. You take a deep breath, and what fills your lungs isn't just air. It's the oxygen released by the trees surrounding you. These silent giants are doing more than creating a serene landscape. They're working around the clock to keep our planet alive. Trees are not just passive parts of nature, they are living machines, built by evolution to capture sunlight and transform it into life. Through photosynthesis, trees absorb carbon dioxide, CO2, the same gas we emit from cars, factories, and power plants, and convert it into the oxygen we breathe. They don't just store this carbon in their leaves and trunks, they lock it deep in their roots and the soil beneath our feet, keeping it out of the atmosphere where it would otherwise trap heat and warm the planet. In fact, forests are so good at storing carbon that they're often referred to as carbon sinks. A single mature tree can absorb up to 48 pounds of carbon dioxide each year, and large forests can absorb billions of tons annually. Without trees, the carbon buildup in our atmosphere would be far worse, and we'd be much closer to climate disaster. Since the year 1900, Earth's average temperature has risen by about 1 degrees, 1.8 degrees. That might not seem like a lot, but in climate science, that's a massive shift. It's like giving the planet a persistent low-grade fever, and we're already seeing the symptoms. Record-breaking wildfires, devastating hurricanes, prolonged droughts, deadly heat waves, and rising sea levels. And if we reach 2 degrees C of warming, the consequences will multiply. Cities like Miami could be partially underwater. Farming regions could become dust bowls. Millions could be forced to migrate. But here's where trees offer a glimmer of hope. According to scientists, planting 1 trillion trees could remove more than 200 billion metric tons of CO2 from the atmosphere. That's nearly 2 decades worth of emissions at our current rate. It wouldn't solve climate change entirely, but it would give us time. Time to transition to clean energy, time to adapt our infrastructure, time to rethink how we live on this planet. It sounds like a no-brainer, right? Just plant trees, save the world. But it's not that simple. The problem is we're not planting, we're cutting. Each year, we lose an estimated 10 billion trees, primarily due to agriculture, logging, and urban development. Forests are cleared to make way for cattle ranches, soybean farms, palm oil plantations, and housing developments. The Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of the earth, is disappearing at an alarming rate. In just the past few decades, we've wiped out over 30% of the world's forests, and we're doing it faster than ever before. Improved machinery and global demand have made deforestation incredibly efficient. At the same time, reforestation efforts often lag behind, underfunded and unsupported. We're cutting down trees far faster than we're replacing them. If this trend continues, some studies predict that Earth could be virtually treeless in just 300 years. That may seem far off, but the consequences would hit long before that. Less tree cover means more carbon in the atmosphere. More carbon means more warming. And more warming means more droughts, storms, and food insecurity. But this isn't just a story of doom, it's a call to action. Trees aren't just passive victims of climate change, they're one of our best tools to fight it. And the beauty of the solution? It's natural, scalable, and time-tested. Unlike futuristic geoengineering ideas that involve space mirrors or solar-blocking satellites, trees are already here. We just need to let them do what they do best. Of course, planting trees isn't a magic wand. It must be done strategically in the right places, with the right species, and supported by long-term care and preservation. But when done right, forests can provide a triple benefit: stabilizing the climate, restoring biodiversity, and supporting local communities. In the battle against climate change, trees are our allies, ancient, tireless, and essential. They've been shaping life on Earth for over 350 million years. The question now is, will we let them help us save it? 1 trillion trees. Say it out loud, 1 trillion. That's a 1 followed by 12 zeros. A number so massive, it's hard to even wrap your head around. So let's break it down. Right now, Earth is home to an estimated 3 trillion trees. That's about 400 trees for every human being. Not bad, right? But here's the twist. Before the rise of civilization, that number was likely twice as high. Over the last few centuries, we've cut down nearly half of the world's trees, mostly for agriculture, urban expansion, and resource extraction. So the idea of planting 1 trillion more? It's not just ambitious, it's monumental. If we managed to plant 1 trillion new trees, we'd increase Earth's tree cover by roughly 33%. That means reforesting areas the size of the United States, Canada, and China combined. And while the environmental payoff could be huge, the path there isn't exactly paved with compost and sunshine. Let's talk manpower. Imagine you're a seasoned tree planter in North America. You've got your shovel, your bags of saplings, and a long, grueling day ahead. On a good day, you might plant 2,000 trees in a 10-hour shift. That's no small feat. It's back-breaking labor, often done in remote, rugged terrain. You're battling bugs, heat, rain, and fatigue, all while carrying up to 50 pounds of gear. Now let's do the math. If you planted 2,000 trees every single day, with no holidays, no weekends, no sick days, how long would it take to hit 1 trillion? The answer? About 570,000 years. That's longer than human civilization has existed. Clearly, we're going to need more than just tree planters. We need a global-scale mobilization, a movement on par with building the Great Wall of China, the Apollo space program, or even World War II industrial production. Even if we recruited 1 million full-time tree planters working 365 days a year, planting 2,000 trees per person per day, we'd still need well over a decade to reach our goal. And that assumes everything goes right. Perfect weather, endless supply of seedlings, ideal soil conditions, and full cooperation from governments and private landowners across the globe. But nature isn't always cooperative. There's more to tree planting than just digging holes and dropping in saplings. You need the right species for the right region. A tropical rainforest tree won't survive in the Arctic, just like a pine tree won't last long in a desert. Then there's the matter of soil quality, water availability, and seasonal timing. Trees planted at the wrong time of year or in poor soil may never survive beyond a few weeks, and survival is only half the battle. Once planted, trees are vulnerable to wildfires, pests, disease, and deforestation. Yes, even reforested areas get logged. Without long-term care and protection, many of those newly planted trees may die before they can make a real impact on the climate. Let's not forget the logistics. To plant 1 trillion trees, we'd need billions of seedlings, which means massively scaling up nurseries and seed banks. We'd need an enormous transportation network to deliver saplings to remote areas. We'd need tools, teams, training programs, and tons of funding. In politically unstable or war-torn regions, tree planting might not even be possible. Then there's land use. Where exactly are we going to put 1 trillion new trees? Not all land is suitable or even available for reforestation. We can't just take over farmland that's needed to grow food or displace communities in the name of climate action. Reforestation must be balanced with biodiversity, food production, and human rights. And let's face it, global cooperation is not our strong suit. Getting every nation, every state, every community to commit to a shared environmental vision, that's a tall order in a world already divided over everything from politics to plastic straws. But despite all of these hurdles, this isn't a hopeless dream. It's a massive challenge, yes, but one that forces us to think bigger, smarter, and more collaboratively than ever before. Think of the benefits: cleaner air, cooler cities, restored wildlife habitats, flood prevention, and carbon capture on a scale nature intended. It won't be easy. It might be one of the hardest things humanity has ever attempted. But here's the thing: if we can build rockets that land themselves, decode the human genome, and connect billions of people through the internet, then surely we can plant some trees. 1 trillion of them. Let's face it, when it comes to planting 1 trillion trees, good intentions and grit just aren't enough. We need scale, we need precision, and most importantly, we need speed. That's where technology enters the forest. Picture this: a drone hovering silently above a barren hillside. Below, a once lush forest devastated by wildfire. With a quick scan, the drone maps the terrain, analyzes soil composition, identifies optimal planting spots, and then, like a futuristic gardener, it launches seed pods deep into the earth. No sweat, no sleep, no breaks. This isn't science fiction, it's reforestation 2.0. In fact, some cutting-edge drone systems today can plant up to 100,000 trees per day. That's the daily output of about 50 seasoned human tree planters. These autonomous machines are fast, agile, and efficient. And unlike humans, they don't suffer from fatigue, frostbite, or back pain. These drones aren't just flying seed dispensers, they're smart. Equipped with AI and machine learning algorithms, they can assess topography, detect erosion risk, and adapt planting strategies in real time. They can even differentiate between native and invasive species, making ecologically responsible decisions that once required teams of specialists. But drones are just one piece of the puzzle. Across the globe, innovators are developing robotic planting vehicles that look like something out of Star Wars. These four-wheeled automatons roll through fields and forests, carefully digging, inserting seedlings, and covering them with soil. Some models can operate day and night, using GPS and vision sensors to navigate complex terrain. And then there are robotic nurseries, high-tech facilities that automate the entire seedling production process. Using conveyor belts, climate control systems, and AI monitoring, these smart greenhouses can raise millions of saplings at a fraction of the time and cost of traditional nurseries. Some systems even tailor growing conditions to each tree species, ensuring optimal health before planting. It doesn't stop there. Tech companies are now using satellites and drones not just for planting, but for monitoring growth, tracking survival rates, and measuring carbon absorption. With real-time data and high-resolution imagery, we can see exactly how our new forests are doing, right down to individual tree clusters. That kind of insight is invaluable for improving reforestation strategies and ensuring long-term success, not just short-term planting stats. There's even talk of blockchain-backed tree registries, where every tree planted gets recorded and verified. This could help prevent greenwashing, when companies or governments make exaggerated claims about their environmental impact. With digital proof, tree planting efforts become transparent and accountable. But let's pump the brakes for a moment. As exciting as this sounds, technology isn't a silver bullet. For all their speed and smarts, drones can't guarantee life. A seed pod dropped into the soil may never sprout. It might dry out, wash away in a storm, or get eaten by wildlife. Even successfully germinated trees can wither if they don't get proper care, especially during the fragile early years of growth. That's why human involvement still matters. Local teams are needed to maintain the seedlings, provide irrigation, and protect young forests from threats like wildfires, pests, and disease. In many cases, combining drone planting with on-the-ground community stewardship produces the best outcomes. In fact, one of the most promising models for high-impact reforestation involves tech-driven planting paired with local job creation. Communities in South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia are using technology to boost planting rates while empowering local workers to manage the forests. It's not just about saving the planet, it's about creating livelihoods, too. So, Can tree planting technology get us to 1 trillion trees? Yes, if we're smart about it. If we invest in innovation, scale up production, and integrate tech with ecological wisdom and human labor, the trillion tree milestone could go from distant dream to real world reality. In fact, with enough drones in the sky, robots on the ground, and data flowing from satellites, we might achieve in 10 years what would otherwise take us a century. That's not just efficiency, that's urgency transformed into action. And when we finally reach that milestone, 1 trillion trees planted, what then?